It is with great pleasure that I try my first YouTube for a professional journal and share with readers and members of the review board some perspective on the article that will be appearing real soon in the Papeles de Trabajo sobre Cultura, Educación y Desarrollo Humano. I think that's a great title for this journal, and I'm going to be talking about a paper that's titled Assessing Migration and Adaptation from Two or More Points of View, Cultural Historical Theory and Methods. I'd like to tell you a little bit more in the beginning about the origins of this work about 10-15 years ago as we worked in developing a measure that could be used for both counseling as well as human development purposes in assessing some of the main factors that are, I would say, pivotal in determining whether any individual will successfully adapt to cultural, intercultural processes. And basically, we're interested in this dialectical perspective because from the beginning, we noted very strong differences between members of majority dominant groups compared to how members of certain ethnic minorities who were living in the United States were divided in how well they felt and adapted to not only their educational process, but also to society at large and work. The paper tries to frame the cultural adaptation process in terms of a dynamic, fluid view of how, depending on the context in which the immigrant or in this case, the outsider, or members of the outgroup, as has been termed in sociological theories, are often subject to higher rates of mental health problems, depression, suicide, as well as this idea of learned helplessness that John Ogbu spoke about in terms of explaining why African American students in American society, in spite of having desegregated schools, are still one standard deviation below their dominant group peers, even after controlling for a number of school factors. And yet, on the other hand, the other side of the coin shows that many of these members from ethnic minorities or outside groups that in some contexts, like Andean countries like Peru and Colombia and the like, they're actually the majority numerically, but the questions of power and how power is distributed demographically makes the U.S. Probably one of the first contexts to try to confirm, as if it was a scientific fact, that European Americans tend to be healthier or adapt better in terms of depression measures, self-esteem, and generally espouse beliefs and behaviors that are quite different from those that would pertain to outside groups. Yet, my point in this article with that of my co-authors is that many members of non-dominant groups are actually ahead in terms of resiliency and their ability to adapt to any environment more successfully, precisely because of the transcultural, psychological, and social process that they encounter in environments that sometimes provide a welcoming and a positive, I would say, reception of the outside person. this scale that is being used to assess from a cultural historical standpoint how the genesis of healthy, I would say, resiliency skills are essentially generated by lived experiences, or what Vygotski in his last phase of work had termed perishivani, and that is the emotional, cognitive, motivational, lived experiences that then make the individual stronger or weaker to threats experienced from the outside. There's also a theme in this work about gender differences, in that women have historically been oppressed and kept outside certain positions of power. And in essence, our methodology attempts to isolate 4 primary factors that can explain some of the, I would say, challenges, as well as some of the reasons for why children of immigrants and outsiders are often at an advantage relative to dominant group populations in their own turf. They try harder, sometimes they move up the social and power ladders more rapidly. They tend to have what's called an immigrant edge, oftentimes by having been raised by parents from different cultures or having lived in different contexts of reception. So without belaboring the process, I wanted to recognize the contributions in this paper of my colleagues, Diego Wada, Manuel Gonzalez, and William Mita, Spencer Salas, and my original colleague, Daya Sandhu, who perhaps started thinking about the pain that many immigrants feel when they come to a new context and do not have the language, resources, or the social capital that then translates into these hardship situations of trying to fit in and be accepted in spite of some ethnic markers, whether they're linguistic or phenotype or social. I believe that ours is one of the few psychosocial assessments that could be used to measure the psychological climate of any society or any institution, and perhaps prevent violence and prevent hate groups and things that have been referred to as what gave rise to the Nazi ideology of feeling superior to others on the basis of misconstrued notions of racial superiority and other misinformed perspective. Yet these are alive. These are actually impacting our society more than ever, and our findings here reported in the article will deal with how in American college campuses, for the most part, students are quite divided by gender and by ethnic origin in how they respond to these scales. Or conversely, we could say that these scales are sensitive and basically show how the needles of prejudice are moved. The data behaves as predicted, particularly because of the social circumstances of the participants in the study. So I conclude this interview or presentation with an invitation to readers or those who see it, that if they want to find out more about how to join our research team and perhaps be part of this long-standing project to understand how identity development is so much connected to the ideology of both the societal context and individuals, and informing some of the attitudes and perceptions that are captured by the scales and the 30 items that can be answered online. If you want to participate, we have already mounted online the survey that has all the necessary requirements for human subjects, guarantees, and I would look forward to having any correspondence sent to us here at the University of Georgia. I am the director of the Center for Latino Achievement and Success in Education here in the College of Education, and work with an excellent team of doctoral students and postgraduate colleagues, and we have formed a very close team with members in South Florida, in a couple of cities in Spain, Tenerife is the University of Laguna, and Cordova is where we're presently collecting new data, as well as Rutgers University will be our next site. So I end with a farewell and a thank you to the editors of this great journal and my colleague Moises Esteban. Thank you very much. Hope to see you all soon.